The only thing though is that this is not like other breads where you use yeast or have to worry about the proofing, which is what makes it an easy take whatever you have in your pantry bread, which I really like. Otherwise known as pagacha or Balkan bread. So I don't know if you know, but the Balkans are this area, probably about Southeast Europe, where there's countries such as Croatia, Bulgaria, even Greece, and this happens to be bread that's there. I found it, I was very happy. So let's begin. So first I'm going to start off with about 2 cups of flour. Usually you use regular flour. I'm going to use whole wheat flour. That's because it's very difficult to mess with a recipe for bread unless you really know what you're doing, because in regular flour you have gluten, and the gluten is what gives you that stretchiness, and when you use a gluten-free, sometimes you don't have that. That's why you see xanthan gum sometimes added into those gluten-free flours. So I am just going to use whole wheat, so at least it still has the bran and the germ along with the endosperm and the wheat. Next, I'm going to actually use some of the leavening agents. So because it doesn't use yeast, you do need a couple of things to help the bread actually rise. So first what we're going to add is about half a tablespoon of baking powder, okay? And then next we're gonna add a half teaspoon of baking soda. Then we have 1 teaspoon of salt. So we're just gonna mix this up. I use a fork. That's just because it helps aerate and it helps break up a little the little pebbles that are kind of created, or the clumps that are created in the flour. So it just helps a little bit with that aeration. So we're gonna move that to the side. And now we're gonna go with the wet ingredients. So first let's start with 1 egg. The egg helps with the rising, the leavening as well, as with moisture and binding. Next we are going to use about a cup of yogurt. It calls for about 7 ounces. And the yogurt I'm using is Greek yogurt, so no sugar added. Now the great thing about yogurt is just that you get lots of health benefits in terms of really overall good immune health as well as digestive health. And the reason that the immune system benefits from yogurt is because in your GI tract you actually have patches that are connected to the immune system, or that do work for the immune system. The other great thing is that yogurt, because it also helps your GI tract, also helps your mood. And that's because your GI tract actually makes more serotonin than your brain does. So you'll notice that your mood changes because of what you eat. That's partially why. Okay, that is that. So now we're going to add some milk. So it calls for about 3.5 ounces of milk. So it's about a little less than a half cup, but I made some tea, and so this is gonna help add some sweetness to the pogača bread, because there's like no sweetness in it.
Milk-based chai tea.
So let's see if this is about a half cup that I had left over. If so, that'd be awesome. Oh, it is about a half cup, a little bit less. Works perfectly. So we're gonna mix that together. Now you can use a different milk if you want for this recipe. You can get away with almond, or you can get away with oat milk. I would just be careful trying to put something like coconut milk, just because it is thicker and it separates more. But when it comes to yogurts, I wouldn't really change the yogurt, just because the fat ratio and protein ratio changes with yogurts a lot more, and you want the right consistency. And also the yogurt that we added in has that acidity that helps balance out the baking soda from the dry mix. Okay, and now let's add the dry ingredients. You're most likely going to have clumpy yogurt. Don't worry about that, because we're going to be working this with our hands as well. So I'm going to switch to a wooden spoon now, because most of it has slightly mixed. So you're going to want to try to work this as long as you can with the wooden spatula before you have to work it with your hands. So just scrape the sides if you need to. Get that elbow grease, get that arm workout you need for the day, or you don't want to do, but you, like every person should do. And while I've been doing this, I actually heated up my oven to about 495. Don't worry, we're not actually going to cook it at that high of a temp. We're going to bring the temp down. But that's just to help us get that first hit of heat, and that nice crust that we want on the top. Okay, so I'm just gonna work it a little bit with my hands, not too much, because I pretty much have the ball that I want. So it will be slightly sticky, that's all right. You just don't want to overwork the dough. Okay, I think we are ready with the ball. Either you can take a 9-inch round or an 8-inch square pan. Plop. Okay, so now we're just gonna try to flatten it with our fists. So this is where you get more of your workout. Get your pow, 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 pow. That's not even a good punch. You get the idea. You want it to fill the pan as much as you can. It will get sticky. You will most likely get them on your hands. That is all right. It's not really baking if you're not getting somehow messy. Now I oiled this bad boy up, so this is not gonna stick. Pow, 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 pow. Okay, and now we just need to get a fork, and we're just gonna poke the tops. The top several times. You're gonna throw it into the oven that is at 495 now, but we're gonna bring down the temp to about 400. And now just bring that temp down to 400. There we go. And now we wait for about 35 to 40 minutes. Okay, we are ready to pull it out of the oven. One thing I will say though is that I did flip it around at halfway point. And if you think it's gonna be too dark for you, then you can always put aluminum foil on top so it doesn't get too brown. But anyway, what we need to do now is we're not just gonna leave it to sit in the container, it's gonna be too hot. What you need to do is watch out, don't do this at home too much, it's gonna be hot. But you want to flip it over and you wanna wrap the whole thing so it keeps the moisture, and you wanna let it sit for, it's not very pretty the way I did it, but you wanna let it cool down in the towel for about half an hour. Okay, let's unwrap this bread. I don't know if you can hear that knock knock, but let's check it out. There it is, in all its darkness and deliciousness. Can't wait to cut it open, or just cut it. Cut, cut, cut. Well, that is definitely a hard crust. I'm not a big crust person though, to say. You should check it out. This is the inside. See, you get a little bit of those holes right there. And you see you get some sponginess coming in. It doesn't, you can't push it down completely. So you get that spring, so you know that it's been baked. And now to try it. Good as always. It's a very hearty bread, very nutty in flavor, like other whole wheat breads. I keep it, so rundown, because I'm about to take all the insides. Like I said, I like the insides better. 2 cups of flour. I used whole wheat, half a tablespoon of baking powder, half teaspoon of baking soda, a teaspoon of salt, and then you have for the wet ingredients 1 egg, about 7 ounces, so about 7/8 cup of yogurt, and then you have about a little less than half a cup, so 3.5 ounces of milk, and then oil just to cover the pan. So if you're looking for a bread to eat that's easy, simple to make, I highly recommend Balkan bread, because if you have yogurt in the house, you're like good to go. So highly recommend it. Definitely try it. Have fun, and I'll see you next time. Who doesn't like the inside?